This is Michael Popok with Legal AF After Dark. Even when Judge Aileen Cannon down in the Mar-a-Lago case in Florida is compelled to do the right thing, she always finds a way to both take on the prosecutor against Donald Trump and throw Donald Trump some sort of bone. What am I talking about? Well, Judge Cannon did deny the motions to dismiss brought by Trump's two co-conspirators, the valet, butler, and the maintenance worker, and said, nope, your indictment stands. You're going to trial. I'm not going to dismiss it. But even in the order, she found a way to poke the bear in the form of special counsel Jack Smith. We break it all down for you. You know where. Legal AF. Take a listen.
This is only a brief update that we'll have here. Federal Judge Aileen Cannon denying the motion to dismiss the indictment and for a bill of particulars that were filed by Donald Trump's co-defendants, Waltine Nauta and Carlos de Oliveira, in the Mar-a-Lago document case where Donald Trump stole national defense information, including nuclear secrets and war plans, and claims it's his personal property now just because, he says, under the Presidential Records Act, which is a civil statute, not a criminal statute, that says the opposite of what Trump says. He claims that he can take it. And Waltine Nauta and de Oliveira were involved in the process of moving these boxes and documents and concealing evidence. They were charged with the obstruction and making false statement charges in the indictment. And look, Judge Aileen Cannon goes out of her way to make it clear that her job as a judge is to simply look at the allegations in the indictment and not look outside of the indictment. She makes some, somewhat kind of snobby remarks in there to kind of imply, we'll see what the jury does. We'll see what happens at a later stage. But I'm bound by the four corners, and the four corners of the indictment says this, and that asserts the elements of the crime. And, she just doesn't want to get reversed by the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals at this point. She doesn't really know what she's doing right now because she still hasn't set a trial date, right? We're recording this on April 20th, if you're watching this after the live, just for reference. And as of, remember, March 1, she held that status conference where she was going to set a trial date. And special counsel Jack Smith said, look, you didn't set basic deadlines like I told you to, like SEPA Section 5 hearings and other stuff that you would normally do in a Classified Information Procedures Act case. So we think July makes sense. Obviously, you can't make the May trial date. Then Donald Trump said, we think never. How is never? Like we never do the trial? Or maybe like late 25, 2026. And she said at the March 1st hearing that she thought that Jack Smith's July date was too soon. She was more inclined to push this thing out into 2025. But here we are, April 20th now, after a March 1st hearing. She hasn't changed the trial date. And so the parties have to proceed as if this May 20th trial date is still the trial date. And so I'm not sure what she's trying to pull there. It's very odd. It's, she's definitely trying to pull something. We'll just say that. I'm not sure she's kind of figured it out and thought through it, but the parties are going to have to submit their pretrial stuff soon, unless she moves the date and deadline, which she has yet to do. So that's my update on it. Michael Popok, anything you wanted to add there?
Yeah, not much more, other than another example of co-conspirators for Donald Trump definitely going to trial and or jail, while Donald Trump, at least because of Judge Cannon, we still sit on tenterhooks about whether that's going to happen or not. Peter Navarro's cooling his heels in jail. Alan Weisselberg is in jail for a second time. Walt Nauta and Carlos D., and I get criticisms about how I pronounce his last name, but I don't care. Carlos de Oliveira are going to trial because their indictment dismissal motion papers, as you outlined, have been rejected. The question is Donald Trump going to be joining them on this trial when it happens? And why these two, the butler and the maintenance worker, are continued to be committed to Donald Trump and are willing to go over the precipice and go over the cliff for Donald Trump is still beyond me. The butler and or Carlos and or Walt should have already cut a deal with the government and made this a standalone case against Donald Trump with those two testifying against them. We've already outlined that At least one of them has a MAGA paid for lawyer, which would help explain why they're not thinking that clearly. I mean, every time somebody has gotten their own counsel that has independent judgment not being paid for by Donald Trump or his PAC, they seem to make the right decision, like the Yuscil Taveras, the IT worker, who could have easily been the third co-defendant with Donald Trump, but thought better of it after he fired his lawyer and hired it was a legal defense. I think they gave it to him. I think it was he didn't even have a private counsel for that one. I think he used the public defender for a federal public defender, and then said, no, I'm going to testify against Donald Trump now. So that's how we learned about the videotapes and the attempt to try to drown it and bury it, and burn it, and do everything else to the videotapes as possible. So that's still, I mean, I'm just want to do like a running commentary here at the bottom. I'm still shocked that Walt Nauta has not succumbed to the pressure of like facing a number of years in a federal penitentiary and hasn't already turned on. Yes, I know he still works for the guy, but he's got to see the writing on the wall. If there was another judge there and it was Chutkin, or if it was any other judge in the Southern District of Florida, I think it would have changed their minds. But because, the strategy of Trump to, it looks like there's, what's the old joke about when it looks like the referees in a sporting event are on the side of one of the teams, there's too many men on the field. I mean, it always looks like there's, whenever she makes a decision, except where she has to, absolutely has to, she makes a decision and it looks like it benefits Donald Trump. Like even in the motion to dismiss, that she had to deny both the motion for bill of particulars for more information about the charges against De Oliveira, including about him lying to the FBI, and to Nauta, the four corners of the indictment, which have to be accepted as true for the purposes of the motion, clearly met the standard for pleadings. And this is also from 2 years ago. But even there, I don't know if you saw it, Ben, I'm sure you did. Cannon started to get like wobbly at one point about the word, listen to this one, the word corrupt and what is its meaning in a criminal federal statute, including the one that we've been talking about at length here. Let me make it easy I'll do a little breakout Patreon session right here. Okay. I will concede for a moment that when Congress and different Congresses over time make criminal law, they are not consistent with their vocabulary. I'll give you that. And they're not consistent sometimes with terms of art. And it's not AI doing it, it's human beings. And sometimes they make things that inadvertently create ambiguity because, well, they use knowingly in that statute, but they use willfully in this statute, but they use corruptly in that statute. Are they the same? Are they the different? And then it's left to lawyers like you and me and the court system, and ultimately the appellate courts to figure out what these words mean. But there's already sort of a compendium, a thesaurus, a dictionary of defined terms, and corruptly, anybody that practices criminal law, we know what the word means, and we know what the appellate courts and the Supreme Court have said about the word. More importantly, we know what the 11th Circuit, which is Aileen Cannon's boss, has said about how do you interpret the word corruptly. So for her to spill ink over half of her order to say, he raises a very good point, Mr. Nauta, about the word corruptly and how it's being used in 1512C. There does seem to be some inconsistencies. And then at the end she says, but then the 11th Circuit's defined corruptly, so I have to follow that. So why go off? I was like, oh, here we go.
Right.
Why go off into the wilderness of her own making about cogitating about what the word corruptly means when it's one of the most better defined terms in criminal statutory construction? Go look up Scalia and Gardner on how to interpret words if you don't know how to do it. That's what everybody points to. So again, as you said, even when she's forced to do the right thing, she finds a way to be Cannon. Welcome back. If you like that kind of hard-hitting analysis at the intersection of law and politics, you're going to love our long format show. We call it Legal AF for a reason. Join us on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. on this MeidasTouch YouTube channel, and you'll find out why, I assure you. And then we put it on audio podcast platforms to make it convenient for you. If you already know about our show, maybe you missed this episode or didn't see that segment, we thank you for being with us. Take that clip. You can be part of our ad hoc marketing department. We are the network that we've been waiting for. Take it, send it off to friends and family and people in your life and say, hey, watch Legal AF. It's my favorite show. Here's a clip from it. And maybe they'll join. If you have no idea what I'm talking about or who I am, I'm Michael Popok. That was Legal AF. And we invite you to join our audience. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, until my next Patreon video. This is Michael Popok reporting. Heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.